Hello everyone. I'm the Sweeping Monk. Today, let's talk about the earliest era of Chinese civilization, the most silent of the ancient three dynasties. Why do I say the Xia Dynasty is the most silent dynasty in Chinese civilization? For the ancient Chinese, the existence of the Xia Dynasty was self-evident. It was passed down through generations with a well-ordered legislative history and many historical documents for mutual verification. However, with the rise of the early 20th century ancient history movement, our understanding of the Xia, Shang, and Zhou dynasties has undergone a dramatic transformation, especially the Xia Dynasty, which went from being self-evident to now being considered false if it cannot prove itself. Mr. Hu Shi once said that there were no surnames before the Eastern Zhou, while Mr. Gu Jiangkang believed that Zhou the Great was just a worm. In the end, scholars such as Yang Quan and Chen Mengdi wrote extensively, completely denying the existence of the Xia dynasty. This led to a process of questioning and denial of Xia dynasty history. As we continue to dig and explore archaeology to refute these denials, we encounter ongoing skepticism, forming a repetitive cycle. Even though we have identified many sites older than the Xia dynasty, the Xia dynasty and its capital still lack a unified conclusion in academia. The reason lies in the fact that the Xia dynasty holds the title of the first dynasty in Chinese civilization. It is the eldest son of Chinese civilization. Therefore, the Xia dynasty must have written records to prove its existence. To wear the crown, one must bear its weight. The current state of the Xia dynasty is like a quantum state, neither proven by historians nor confirmed by archaeologists. If we consider the Xia dynasty as a person, is its silence deafening? We see something that looks like a flower. It has what seems to be a flower stem and flower petals, but it cannot claim to be a flower. Thus, we can only refer to it as flower-like. So, if you ask archaeologists whether the Xia dynasty existed, they might often say, it's like it might. From the discovery of the Erlitou site by Mr. Zhu's ushing in 1915 into the opening of the Erlitou Xia Capital Site Museum in 2019, exactly 60 years have passed. Although 60 years is not considered long in history, it is a significant period in archaeology. Since we have been excavating the Erlitou site for 60 years, why can we still not directly declare it as the capital of the Xia dynasty? As is well known, this is mainly because the Erlitou site has not yielded any definitive Xia dynasty inscriptions. Since there are no inscriptions yet, should we change our approach or method to prove the existence of the Xia dynasty? Friends might say, can't you be a bit more patient? Give archaeology some more time. The Xia dynasty inscriptions will eventually be found. It seems this issue has turned into a philosophical one. How early is early, and how late is late? Although I guard the stars of Chinese civilization, I am also someone who seizes the moment. We have been spoiled by the Yin ruins, believing that the ancient three dynasties must have inscriptions. But you should know, the discovery of inscriptions at the Yin ruins was highly coincidental. This coincidence is reflected in several aspects. Firstly, for over 2,000 years, including historians like Sima Qiang, no one knew about the existence of oracle bone script in the Shang dynasty. The transformation of oracle bone script from medicinal dragon bones to archaeological artifacts happen only in the past centuries is indeed a very fortuitous event. Secondly, records in the Shangshu Book of Documents about the mistakes of the Shang ancestors also indicate that there were official books and records beyond oracle bone script in the Shang dynasty. This suggests that the Shang dynasty used at least two writing systems simultaneously. Yet, we haven't seen any Shang inscriptions or points so far. Currently, about 150, 0 to 160, Zhou Oracle bone script inscriptions have been discovered. Imagine the quantity of Sheng inscriptional. Come, we haven't found a single one. This is the normal state of archaeology. Thus, we shorten, interpret the randomness of discovering inscriptions at the Yin ruins as the necessity of having inscriptions at the Xia Dynasty site. This kind of logical reasoning has never been valid from the start. Moreover, I don't sit idly by, I am everywhere. Just like when summer arrives, I switch to the magical little deer cooling blanket, made of technology fabric that is cool and breathable. The new product starts at 106 yuan, with a skin feel better than 300, 400 yuan summer blankets. On hot nights, it's the only way to sleep soundly. Plus, it's machine washable, which is very convenient. I've thrown it in the washing machine several times, and it hasn't deformed or clumped. In this weather, not covering with a blanket is cold, but covering with one is hot. Little deer blanket is just right. It is filled with bio-based PLA fiber, smooth and has a cooling effect, eliminating the heat from gaming. Before bed, I switch to skin-friendly cotton, which is more fluffy and breathable than ordinary cotton blankets. On hot days, sweating and oily skin are common. This blanket doesn't feel sticky and is less likely to harbor bacteria and mites. The gray baby friendly fabric means no need for a duvet cover, safe even for sensitive skin. It comes into sizes suitable for dormitory beds and double beds. The new product promotion is great, with coupons available in the comment section. There's a price guarantee and free shipping insurance. Don't miss it, ladies and gentlemen. So, how do we confirm the existence of the Xia Dynasty without archaeological inscriptions? In the video, Of the Land, I shared King Wen's final instructions to King Wu. This instruction is part of the Boxun Shu Sheng Shu included in the Tingshua bamboo slips. In this instruction, King Wen, who reigned for 50 years and was ill, told his son that he had once established a geographical reference, but Sheng Tang's sixth generation ancestor Sheng Ju, we believed that it was not the true reference, so a new one was set. This new reference is in today's Dengfen, Henan. The purpose of King Wen narrating these two historical periods was to ensure his son would maintain this geographical reference, so that the Zhou dynasty could gain the world. Therefore, we see that King Wu's son, King Chen, on the Hezen inscription, traced the royal lineage to this China, thus naming it. Additionally, when Duke Zhou helped King Wu in Yunji and Luoy, he also determined the geographical reference in Dingfen, evidenced by the east-winged Duke Zhou measurement platform, and Zhou writes literature on Duke Zhu's observations. From this, it can be seen that according to King Wen's instructions, King Wu of Zhou planned to start constructing Luoy. After his death, Duke of Zhou continued as regent, helping King Cheng of Zhou to stabilize Luoy and use what kind of ritual vessel to commemorate King Wu. These actions were all part of the same tradition, which shows that the construction of Luoy is closely related to the concept of brotherhood. After the establishment of the Zong, the Dengfen observatory experienced at least 9 dynasties and was used until the Yuan dynasty, becoming the first of the 27 observatories established during the Yuan dynasty. Since the determination of the imperial center was so important, what is the connection between the geographical center and the Xia dynasty? King Wen of Zhou said in his instructions that Shanggu revised the new geographical center, referring to the pre-Shang period, not after the establishment of the Yin Shang. This is because Shang Ju is the sixth ancestor of Shang Tang. We know that the two figures mentioned in the treasure texts, Emperor Shang, was earlier than the Xia Dynasty, and Shang Zhui was earlier than the Shang Dynasty. The pre-Shang period, when Shang Zhui lived, theoretically coincides with the time when the Xia Dynasty still existed. Of course, I must emphasize that this only theoretically proves that Shang Zhui lived during the Xia Dynasty, but does not indicate that he lived in the Xia capital. Here, we bypass textual analysis and use a completely new method. All four ancient civilizations had their own ancient calendars, and when discussing the ancient calendar of the Xia civilization, we must consider the concept of the gnomon and the shadow. The gnomon and the shadow involve selecting a geographical center and measuring the length of the shadow on the summer solstice. We know that the Tosui site and the Zhou site are located at latitudes 35, i.e. 1035, 17 respectively, and these are the earliest places where the shadow was measured as 1 foot 6 inches. They are on the same latitude. So what does this indicate? From the map, it is clear that the Xia, Shang, and Zhou dynasties almost moved around the regions of Hedong, Henan, and Hexi, indicating that in ancient times, the Xia did not always divide itself by north and south, as later dynasties did, but was primarily divided by east and west, is that they needed to move along the latitude of about 35 degrees north, as this latitude provided the most accurate legislative logic. Accurate legislation could maximize agricultural productivity, and only such efficient productivity could bring about strong culture and military power, leading to the rise of the Xia, Shang, and Zhou dynasties as rulers of the world. So why mention the Tosui and Zhou sites? Because these are the places with the richest ancient astronomical relics. I briefly introduced the Tosui site in previous videos, and Zhou is the site with the earliest discovered block clones, which I will detail in future videos. Coincidentally, the Wangkenken site, where Dongfen is located, is exactly on the perpendicular B sector of these two sites. Moreover, the Dongfen Observatory is indeed located at the position of the shadow, on the summer solstice being 1 foot 5 inches. Therefore, it seems that the Dongfen Observatory may not have been originally established by Duke of Zhou, but rather by Shang Zhui, as the new geographical center mentioned in the treasure texts. The difference between the new and old geographical centers is not only the shift from a 1 foot 6 inch shadow to a 1 foot 5 inch shadow, but also considers the latitude changes. Obviously, the new geographical center also considered precision, splitting the precision of Tosui and Zhou without a degree of difference. Considering that Shang Zhui is the sixth ancestor of Shang Tang, based on the ancient calculation of 30 years per generation, the time for the division of the new geographical center is about 150 to 200 years earlier than Shang Tang. This brings us back to the Erlitou site. With the continuous advancement of archaeological dating techniques, the absolute age of the Erlitou site is approximately between 1750 BC and 1500 BC, meaning that the site spans nearly half of the Xia Dynasty and half of the Shang Dynasty. The artifacts and pottery unearthed at Erlitou also show characteristics of both the Shang and Xia dynasties, which is a significant factor in why it cannot be definitively identified as the Xia capital. However, considering the motivation for establishing the Erlitou site and the time range of 3,500 to 3,750 years ago, I believe this place was likely within the range of the new geographical center at that time. In terms of time, this site matches the era of Shang Zhui, In terms of location, it is in today's Yanqi, Luoring, which also conforms to the measurement principles of the new geographical center. In simple terms, latitude lines are horizontal. That is, north and south. Longitude lines are vertical. That is, east and west. In ancient times, the geographical center gradually evolved from the northwest center of the Tosui and Zihuzipo sites, which were earlier than the Xia Dynasty, to the new geographical center, which was the east and west, north and south of the Dongfenluoi, eventually evolving from the northwest center to the center of the four directions. Furthermore, we no longer need to broadly state that the four great ancient civilizations are located on the mystical 30-degree north latitude line. For the ancient three dynasties of China, finding the early sites of the Xia, Shang, and Zhou dynasties only requires focusing on the area between 30 and 35 degrees north latitude. So why is the area between 30 and 35 degrees north latitude so attractive? This latitude L corresponds to the subtropical monsoon climate zone we learned in second grade, where it is dry and hot in spring and summer, and rainy in winter. Annual plants rarely grow in the wild, and perennial plants often have yellow leaves. So harvests are only suitable in autumn. In the Paleolithic era, people primarily lived by fishing, hunting, and gathering, directly utilizing natural resources. The cultural distribution of this period was scattered, but people between 30 and 35 degrees north latitude gradually discovered that while food resources were limited, plant seeds could be planted and animals could be domesticated. Thus, these clever ancient people found that instead of randomly gathering, it was better to settle and cultivate. The appearance of settlement and agriculture led to the gradual emergence of various tools to meet the needs of new agriculture. The emergence of agricultural production means the arrival of civilization.